Well, good morning. Happy Monday, and welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking. I'm Deanna. It is great to see you. Oh, it's so warm, but we are making do. We are making it work. If you can hear the fan and it's annoying, let me know. I have it blasting me. I was very happy to sit down this morning and spend a minute looking at this book, which we're going to look at together. In today's show, we started looking at this before. This is one of the many rug hooking books I bought on a website. It's a press, like a print-on-demand press called Blurb, and it looks like this. And I've got my green screen on, but it's called The Happy Hooker: The Craft of Priscilla Buzzell. Water. Um, and to remember from the first half of the conversation about Priscilla's work, we started to use an expression that goes like this: the Buzzell border. Because wait till you see, I will remind you, but her borders are so unusual and personalized. I just loved them. They were so different. Let me say good morning. It is a summer show. It is a 11 o'clock show. And I just want to remind you, during the summer, we've got a smaller audience going. People are out and doing their stuff. So I'm running shows on Monday and Friday and skipping Wednesday for now. Gives me some time to work on the Halloween book, to work on the next Magpie Times. Did you see the little video I put up yesterday giving a shout out for things that I would like um, to have to put into the next Magpie Times, whose theme is the country fair, which will include vegetables, animals, rides, fair food, canning, autumn gardens. It's a lot. It's a lot, right? Sheep, right? So I have a secret list of things that are going into Magpie that I talked about with Judy yesterday. I had a long call with Judy Taylor, right, who works with me on Magpie Times. And then there was a shout out list. I'll just give you the highlights at the beginning of the show, but let me just say good morning to Kaz. Great to see you. Super muggy here too. It's crazy how muggy it is. It seems muggier than usual. There was like weeks when the air conditioner was in the kitchen working overtime and everyone was suffering outside, and I was thinking, what's wrong with everybody? You got to toughen up. We're Yankees, right? We're up here in New England being tough guys. Yeah, now it's crept into the house, the heat, and we can't seem to get rid of it. It's like the blob, it won't go. It's like have to have fans directly blowing on you because it's just like parked in the house. And yeah, you need the air conditioner blasting you or a fan blowing directly on your face to feel comfortable at all and not moist, right? How gross is that? It is muggy here too, man. It is, yeah, it is intense this summer. In fact, I was just on Amazon looking at little pools. Like I never thought, I'm not an outdoor person. I'm an indoor cat, particularly after the cancer freckle. But I thought, man, it's so hot. Why don't we just have? They make these stupid pools now, right? That are like quite big, that hold like 200 gallons of water, and like it's for the whole family, right? Like as if we'd all want to be sitting in the pool at the same time. But it could be fun, and it could be take the edge off the heat in the middle of the day. Instead of taking like 3 showers, you could maybe just go into the pool. And yeah, I think I'm gonna order one of those. They're like $60 for like a giant pool. I thought, man, that is well worth the money. I'll tell you what, it's cheaper than the country club. And if I'm in the pool in our backyard, obviously I can't swim. I'm just sitting there cooling my heels. But if we were to join the country club, which I have no interest in doing, I would have to chat with people all day long who I don't particularly want to chat with because they were also at the pool. And then as soon as I turned around, they'd be like, "Oh, she's bigger than I thought," right? Because you just know what people think and how they talk, at least around here. So I'm going to be happy with that little pool out there in the shade. That will be perfect. Michelle, great to see you. Good morning. I'll be watching while I get my nails done. Oh, I like that little icon too. Oh, how fun. Fancy times, right? Great show Saturday. That's right, it was Saturday. Switched up date nights, so I had to miss it again. Oh, that's right. It's great that you had a date night. That was really fun. I forgot to say we ran the live show on Friday because I was traveling on Saturday because I was traveling on Friday, coming back from Vermont from the 4th, right? And yeah, and Barbara helped me with the theme, just a super spontaneous, let's do like a composition theme looking at how composition works. And I had this long sort of slideshow ready of maybe 30 something rugs to look at. And I thought, oh, I hope I have enough content. I always do this for the show to keep us busy. And yeah, I think we did 3 slides, but we ended up with some great pictures. And I put some of them aside that I quite liked. Karen rightly said the hot air balloon. Thank you for that idea. Deborah, I think that was your idea. Or maybe the bird cage, or maybe both. Oh, I forgot about the bird cage. I liked that too. I'm gonna have to think about that. But I thought, oh, maybe I can evolve some of these sketches, right? And use them myself. And also, obviously, you use them too. Very happy to see people out there sketching and rewatching it. I can see the numbers are going up. So I can see people are finding it and discovering it for the first time or rewatching it. And I thought, let's do that more often. It's a great way to look at old rugs, firm up the lines that you are perfectly, you know, entitled to use because of their age, right? And there being no copyright on things of that age before 1928, 29 at this point, actually. But yeah, it was fun. It was fun. It was fun to brainstorm together and to evolve simple lines from a boring kind of geometric into something that was actually pictorial, you know, something with figures and interest, and it was fun. It was a great exercise in creativity, and I hope a great demonstration in the fact that your drawings don't have to be masterpieces, right? They just have to be enough to hold as to be a placeholder for the information that you want to use as the sketch evolves, right? You don't have to. I mean, I go on camera and I sketch stuff that doesn't look good because I know that you understand. We're just talking about putting lines down and remembering what we meant, what the idea was. So it's good to have the confidence to do that and to not feel like you have to be perfect before you make a mark on your paper, right? Because nobody is perfect when they make a mark on their paper. Anita, great to see you. Good morning from London, Ontario, where it is a lovely, sunny, comfortable temperature. Well, that sounds very welcome. And Linda B, happy Monday from steamy New Jersey. Cool idea, having a backyard movie night. Thank you. We did that last night. We used to do this all the time, have backyard movie nights. And we used to do it every week a few summers ago, every Friday night, like clockwork. And sometimes like 5 people would come from the neighborhood. We'd post it in our neighborhood group. And sometimes 50 people would come. And it was hard to call. And then we got out of doing it somehow. We got busy. I guess I got busy. Everybody got a little bit busy. And we did our first one in the backyard last night. The first one. Oh, are those magpies? Stop it. Here, can you open? So. Can you? Here, put them right here. I'm going to open them up. I finally got my Magpie magazine. I haven't had one yet. Yeah, we finally had one for the first time, and oh God, they're hot. They're hot.
They come from outside.
Yeah, holy molies. So we have a little tree out front, and we did our old tradition. Remembered to make the popcorn tree. We popped. I didn't pop the popcorn. My husband popped the popcorn, and the kids. He made clarified butter and all this other stuff. What a use of time. But I think it was quite good. So the clarified butter made it not, I guess, less greasy or something. So I'm opening my Magpie Times, right? This box just came. Ugh, it's heavy. And all of the other ones I've shipped out to you all. So Kaz, yours is in here and mine is in here. But, you know, we hang the bags out on the tree. There's like 20 or 30 bags of popcorn hanging on the tree so people can grab one and then head over to the backyard and just come in through the gate and sit down. And we have the anime movie, the Totoro movie, I don't know what it's really called, playing for the kids. And we had drinks out and drinks for adults and, you know, Kool-Aid and all that stuff. Blankets. It was so cute. It was so fun. It was really nice. It wasn't overwhelmingly large, but the kids are at an age where they texted their friends on the phone to say movie night tonight, and they kind of like handpicked you know, which buddies to have over, and it was so much fun. It was so much fun. I have to say, the projectors that are for sale now are much less expensive because our old, I think that might have been the reason we stopped. Our old projector broke, and we bought a second projector, and this was a few years ago, and it was super expensive. And the lumen count, which is the luminosity, the light, the brightness of it, was not powerful enough. And we tried to run a movie, and you couldn't see the movie. So I considered that an epic fail, and I think we stopped. And then I ended up getting another printer to be able to do talks at guilds and the Historical Society that's a super high lumen count. And it's was more expensive, but it wasn't as expensive as projectors used to be. And it was remarkable how bright this thing was. As soon as it got sort of dark, it was really easy to see the movie. So I'm thinking we should do this more often. It was a really fun summer thing. You know what the plague was? You know what the plague was. It, the mosquitoes and all of the bugs were out, and it's always the plague. You can't, no matter how much citronella and spray we've got on ourselves. Um, can't wait to see this thing. It doesn't affect the fact that the bugs are everywhere in the summer. Fireflies too. There was like 1,000 fireflies in the backyard. It was so cute. Oh wow, this does look good. Look at this. Ho ho ho. So this is, did you notice? So this is my first glimpse of Magpie. I saw the pages set out as Judy, oh, there's my piece on the back. Now I can show you this piece too. The fairy houses. I called this piece Pixie Hollow Condo Association LLC. This is a very complicated pattern, but super fun. You could always crop it too. Oh, there's a picture of me on the back there. Nice. That must be the part that I wrote. Oh wow, it really does look good. I have to say, Judy's right. You know, this has been really expensive for us, and I'm just starting to sort of tread water with the expense of doing this magazine. But Judy is absolutely, hold on. Oh, wow, that wasn't a good move. Judy's absolutely right. The way that we're having them printed is super high quality. It has such a nice spine on it, right? So the thing can lay open. I forget what they call this kind of binding. And the cover is like a book. It's essentially a journal. We are referring to it as a magazine, but it is essentially a journal. Oh, it looks really good. Mandy's opening. We'll look at it together well, I think we'll look at it together on Friday night. More on that in just a second. But yeah, it looks good. Just flipping through it looks good. Looks very good, actually. Some of these articles I haven't even seen because Judy had some buddies who put some articles in this time. And oh wow, isn't that pretty? And those I haven't seen yet. All right, I'm gonna have to take some time. It does look super high quality. Oh, the pages are very thick. Yeah, this is at least as high quality as the last. Absolutely beautiful. I'm wondering where the patterns are. Because I'm pretty sure they're in here, right? My picture came out a bit dark again. This always happens, that hooked thing that I did, the Aeneas Nin. I'm restless. I'm restless. Things are calling me away. My hair is being pulled by the stars again. Came out a little bit dark. Dang it. I'm the worst one for photography. I'm the one who's bringing down the quality of the thing, sadly, because I cannot seem to get my camera to take good pictures. Are the patterns? Okay, the patterns are in the back. Whew, I got scared there. There's Pixie Hollow right there. Okay, the patterns are in there. Excellent. What did you all think about the patterns being in the magazine as opposed to as a supplement? I really liked them being in the magazine because it was one less thing to do time-wise. So, all right, looks really good. Okay, excellent. I'll look at that later. It's a good size too, right? It's actually bigger. This is the book we're looking at today. This is Magpie. It's actually bigger than like an average kind of book, a little bit, right? This is a little bit on the small side. Looks great, feels great, and I'm really looking forward to the next issue. Melissa Gauthier wrote me last night. We go back and forth every day together, and she said, can we do a live show together that's like an interview show talking about Magpie? And I said, I would love that. Let's do that. So I think we're shooting for Friday to do that. Let me see if Melissa's on, but I think we're shooting. There you are. Good morning, Melissa. Are we good for Friday? I didn't check my phone again before we logged off, but maybe we're good for Friday. Let me finish saying hi to everybody. That was exciting having Magpie arrive just then. Man, that is going to be some happy time later when I'm going through there and checking the articles I haven't even seen yet. All right, Courtney, good morning. Great to see you. Joyce, great to see you. Good morning. Headed for the 90s again in the Poconos. You know, and not to be like miserable and negative, but I heard, at least for us in Connecticut, it's not meant to cool off until like later in the day on Friday. So that's a long week of heat. We'll have to be pacing ourselves, right, and be thinking about drinking water and all of those things that are easy to forget, you know, in this kind of crazy intense heat. Catherine, great to see you. Gayla, great to see you. Andrea, welcome back. Good to see you. You're writing up an article for Magpie on carousels. Oh my God, that's perfect. perfect. I'm going to add that to my list. Let me add that to my list. Hang on. I've got this right here. I got in a little bit of disarray because I wasn't expecting those magazines to come at that moment. Yep, here we go. Let me write that on my list. Okay, so Andrea carousels, that's perfect. That is fantastic. That has the real flavor of the rides and the fair and all of that stuff. That is great. Shannon, great to see you. I can't wait to get the issue. I'm sending it today, Kaz. That was perfect timing. Heidi, good to see you. You enjoyed the show a lot on Saturday. Glad to be here. Wow, movie night in the garden. It was fun. It was so fun. Yep, everything's coming together. Today is a good Monday. Things are falling into place. Much better having patterns inside the book. I think so too. Shut the door if you go into the bathroom. Makes a lot of sense. Friday. Okay, so we're on for Friday. Melissa, thank you. And thank you for offering it. It is a lot of fun for me for a few reasons. Linda B, keep patterns in the journal, saving some money. Absolutely. It actually turned out to be more money to, we were worried about upping the page count because the magazine becomes more and we didn't change the price of the magazine. But it actually turned out to be like a wash or a hair less putting them in the magazine and paying more than fooling around with printing, right? And having stuff like I had stuff printed at Staples and was cutting it on the paper cutter. And yeah, that was a huge no thanks, Satan. So I agree. I think we'll leave them in the magazine. Judy was waiting for feedback on that subject. So Melissa, thank you so much. On Friday, we will run a live show together, a 2-person show for Friday night cocktail night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I will be on with Melissa, who will be in charge conducting the interview. You will have the main spot. I will have the secondary spot. And we can talk about Magpie Times and whatever else you want to talk about. Thank you for the invitation. I will love doing that, in part because I love chatting with you and being with you, even in a cyber way for now. And I also love having great content on Friday. We've hardly talked about the 2 magpies at all. I haven't anyway. And yeah, and it's great to do a show like that because I can do work and not have hours of preparation for a Friday show. Could really use that time right now as I try to get all these Halloween patterns out for everybody who's participating in the Haunted Rug. Yes, there are more patterns for you. I did a ton of patterns while I was away for the 4th of July, and there are quite a few left that are new. When people are writing and saying, listen, I like to do, I'm wondering what I bought on Abe Books. Listen, I like to do primitives, then I'm only sending primitive patterns. Or people are saying, you know, I like to work in a number 3, I like stuff that's a bit finer, then I'm sending patterns that are more conducive to that. I'm not sending every pattern to everybody. So there are always more patterns, and there will always be patterns. I'm going to need some kind of like a Swiss Army knife to open this package. I mean, this is incredible. There are lots of patterns that everybody hasn't seen yet, which I think is important because I want you all to be surprised. It is going to be a very dense and full pattern book, and all of the images that are in the Haunted Rug are going to be there, like in Magpie, on pages as patterns. I've only gotten a couple back, which I wasn't even expecting to get a couple back at this point. Some people are super fast workers, but I am so pleased with what I'm seeing so far, and also the text that's being sent in for the Haunted Rug. It's been fantastic so far. I really appreciate it. Let's just go over this really quick. Call outs, shout outs for content for the next Magpie Times, the Country Fair. Judy's asking for content to come in as early as possible for this next issue. So we have been saying the 17th. She's saying if you can get it in like a week earlier, if you can, if more people can. The last issue, for some reason, and me included, me being the worst culprit, all of the content got to her like on the 17th or 16th. And that put her right like into a really fraught and stressful situation of doing the edit, which is her part of the project. My part is collecting content and like creating the shape and contents of each one and finding people to write articles and do stuff. And she like lays stuff out and does the technical part of it. She did all of it in such a short time that she got it to the printer like on a Friday, but it was too late. And then the printer bumped our project, right, which they were expecting earlier in the day on Friday, and put other projects in front of it, and then we ended up getting ours late. So she wants to avoid the stress of having everything slam her at one time. So if you are working on something for Magpie 3, the country fair issue, autumn, try to make it a priority to work on it sooner rather than later, and she will thank you for it because it'll give her, she said when she's putting together each article, she tries to get into the mindset like an actor of that article and get into the feel of it and lay out the page and add any extras and colors and fonts in a way that really complements and celebrates the the atmosphere, the ambiance, of the specific article. And to do that, it takes a little more time than just going cut, paste, cut, paste. So sooner is better. Now, for this issue, I put shout outs for spinning and weaving projects. And I do have a great spinning article coming up from Pam, so that's going to be a great feature for the gallery and for sidebars and stuff. If you do spinning or weaving, I'd love to see that in this issue. The country fair, if you think about it, if you go to a country fair, there's always like the craft building or center, depending on the size of the fair, right, or barn, where you see crochet and quilting, hopefully rugs. You see knitting, right? You see ribbons on specific projects. So, and you're seeing animals as well, right? You're seeing animals and yarn. Sometimes yarn is a category. Sometimes canning is a category. So we're thinking about all of those things that show up at country fairs. If you have gallery pictures, whether they're photographs or finished rugs or other kind of textile pictures, yarn that you spun, anything that has to do with fiber festivals, the actual like sheep themselves, stuff like that. I'm really interested in for this article. I'm interested in getting something on canning. I've only ever done canning once when I was young with my babysitter. I can't even remember it, and I don't have time, but I would love something on canning because it's the right time of the year. I know it's not textile, but we do put like food stuff and games and puzzles into Magpie Times, so it would fit that criteria of being like a in the recipe section. Anything that you might do on canning. If somebody wants to do an article on that, please let me know. Um, any memories or rugs that involve rides, carnival rides that you see popping up at the country fair. I'm good for my felting feature. Jessica jumped in with a great project idea, so I'm all set for my felting feature. Although if you have felted projects that you want to send in for the gallery or for smaller features, absolutely let me know. I'm still looking for someone to do, I'd like to have a three-dimensional crochet pattern or knitting pattern. Maybe something cute like a little mushroom or some little cute thing that is doable, right? Um, Ideally. I'd also really like to have something macrame in this issue. I feel like the country fair is more on the crafting side than like the gallery side, right? Which isn't to say it's less or lower on the totem pole. It's just to say we associate specific arts and crafts with, a country fair. I feel like macrame is maybe more of a craft, right, than it is like a gallery art. And it would fit really well into this issue. So if you do macrame, you have a macrame project, I would love to see a full article on that. Anything that fits the category of best in show. If you've submitted stuff to country fairs before, whether it's like food, canning, textiles, whatever, I would love to see that for the gallery section. I would love a feature on corn husk dolls. If anybody still does that, I see them pop up in gift stores, and I always think, I really wish that I knew how to do this. I know it's probably easy, but I always love seeing them. And this time of, not this time yet, but by the time this comes out, at that time of the year, going through corn mazes and all of those autumn vegetables, it seems like corn husk dolls would be a great small feature, right? Also, anything to do with dried flowers, flower pounding, anything to save the flowers at the end of the summer and be able to keep their beauty and immortalize it as we head into the colder winter months. Also, any text and photos on memories of country fairs, right? You there, your animals there, photographs of sheep there, the country fair, fiber festivals, stuff like that. Um, and the other stuff I have set or is a secret. Judy gave me she gave me 3 features that she's working on. I gave her 4 features that I'm working on, 5 features that I'm working on actually. Um, I'm going to give some more shout outs for sure because that's too much for me right now. I'm going to give some more shout outs. Um, yeah. I'm going to give one of the shout outs right now. Has anybody ever made a tomato pincushion, like sewing wise? Because I know I can picture what the sewing pattern would be. It'd be this, wouldn't it? It'd be a bunch of those, right, together, like making a ball. Short, fat ones, because the pincushion tomatoes are typically small and fat like this. I have a nice collection of pincushion tomatoes, but I'd love to know if anybody has ever. I'd like to make like a small feature, like making one. Tomatoes, country fare. You see where I'm going with that? So, with some of this stuff, I don't want to give away too much because then it won't be exciting to get it. There's a lot of surprises in there. If you have an original idea, forget about my ideas. Let's hear your original idea at ribboncandyhooking@gmail.com. So jump in wherever you like. Oh, Andrea, I do have a corn dolly kit. I've not got around to doing it, if that's any good. You know, if you end up doing it, we could, and you take pictures while you're doing it, and then we say what the brand was so that we, attribute the pattern. That would be amazing. I know you want felting. I'm doing a needle felt moth class, but not until September. Damn it. Well, we will be able to use that for something in the future. So document as you're working on projects and you're thinking, ooh, could we use this for a future Magpie Times? Could we use this for a future book project? Seeing how quickly we're putting books together, right? Absolutely we could. And if you have something like Judy had a great idea yesterday and she was like, dang it, it's a real summer issue kind of a thing. And I said, when you have time, might as well just write it so that we're ready for that and that's already there in the file folder, in the Dropbox for the next summer issue or spring issue. So as you think of things and you think, ooh, I'm onto something here, but seasonally it's not a great match, go ahead and do it, right? You can always send it to me and I can put it in the Dropbox for a future. It's a quarterly magazine, right? So I know like it's going to be winter, spring, summer, or fall issue. Even without the theme, if you have something that is in your heart that you're working on in photographing, save it or send it, whatever you want, but we will make sure that it hits that spot. At the right time. So I'm really looking forward to working on the next Magpie with you. We already have a great cover design by Kelly Smith. We're going to spend some time this afternoon putting a bunch of Kelly Smith's patterns into the Ribbon Candy Hooking store. She's going to be one of the next people who jump into the Ribbon Candy Hooking store, and I have some of her patterns available. She also has some available. Not exclusive, right? They're just here too if you end up shopping and buying like a frame. By the way, I'm going to start stocking that frame that y'all ask about, that small 10-inch frame. I'm going to start stocking that in the next couple days too. But if someone pops onto the website to buy like basic beginner Moshimer hook or basic punch or a small frame or a window pane frame, and they're like, oh, I love Kelly's stuff, let me get a pattern, then it all ships from one place and it makes a lot of sense. So beautiful cover design that she's got. I showed it in Facebook yesterday, and then I probably won't show it again until it's time to advertise Magpie Autumn Volume 3. So thank you all for the help that you've given us to get this far. 2 issues of a magazine this quality for people who are not have advertising in it, right? If you put a feature in, you're super encouraged to say, I have this brand, right? If you like this, you can find me here and do some more shopping. Hey, Ted.
I'm having another sleepover on Wednesday.
Okay, awesome. Oh, you coming to say he's coming to say hi? Is August still here?
No, he left.
Okay.
He just left.
Yeah, we had August sleepover, who was an awesome guy, super fun guy, sleep over last night, and you guys were binge watching they found a great show, and it was super fun to binge watch it.
Oh yeah, we watched like 3 episodes this morning, and in every episode like 30 minutes.
Kaz says hi, Teddy.
Hi. I'm gonna go get myself some water.
Yeah, get yourself some water and some deodorant.
Okay.
I love you, Ted. It's just so hot, Yeah, Andrea, I think that's a great idea. Judy says I make Bizcornu pincushions. Bizcornu. I don't know that word. Bicornu. Judy, let me know what that is. I'm super interested. It sounds amazing. It doesn't have to be a stupid tomato, right? I like tomatoes because it's like, vegetable country fare. But I was planning on doing like just a sidebar about my tomato collection. I found two more at the flea market yesterday morning. So I was going to put that in anyway, but it's not a feature and it's not an article. But I would love like a how-to pincushion article. I want to hear more about that. That sounds amazing. Um, yeah, and I just wanted to drive the point home because a lot of people have been asking about subscriptions for Magpie, and I appreciate the commitment and you wanting to, like, pay forward for a magazine that you must have faith is going to continue to be great. And I really appreciate the sentiment and the question. The problem is I mean, I made a loss for the first two, like a visible loss, which is fine because we're just gaining momentum. And I fully expected it and I planned for it. And now I'm catching up, right? So that's all, that part is fine. That is absolutely what I banked on and what I signed up for. But the thing is, at this price, right, we will end up having to lift the price because it really is a full size book now, over 100 pages, which is comparable with any, for example, Rug Hooking Magazine press book. So the thing is, we can't make the magazine any less expensive. And when people buy subscriptions, I would assume that they're thinking in their head, um, if I sign up for four, I get a discount. We can't possibly do a discount and continue making the magazine. We can't do any less with the magazine. We have it priced at a place where it has been a loss as we grow, right? Expected. But it can't be any more of a loss because I would just have to cut that off my list of things that are killing my bank account and making me crazy and lose sleep. So we have to stay where we are price wise. And for that reason, it doesn't really make sense to invest in software that could regulate subscriptions. I'm also very leery about subscriptions, not just because I think people are expecting to get a more of a deal with a subscription, and we can't do that with at this price point at all. Um, but I'm also worried about um, this, right? Um, I paid for a subscription of Magpie, but I didn't get the second issue. I only got the first and the third. Um, my bank account was hit twice for the same subscription. You know what I mean? Like these kinds of conversations. That just made my heart hurt just pretending to get those emails. Um, I know I couldn't handle that. Like I know I could not handle that. Health wise, I could not handle that. So that worries me, having anybody's money hooked up to something where it comes out when you're not purchasing it at that price point moment. You know what I mean? So to be continued. We'll see as we grow whether subscriptions are possible. We'll see what's possible with more volume. But the reason, for example, that Rug Hooking Magazine and other, other magazines are able to put out a magazine that is 80 to 100 pages, right? Because Magpie is now larger. Um, the reason that's possible is because those magazines are 1/3 at least advertising, and so each brand is paying a large amount, if you've ever checked, for an advertising space, and that makes it possible to print the magazine. Judy and I are paying to print the magazine, right? And we're trying to make the money back by hitting X amount of hard copies for me. For her, she does better with online copies, but I struggle with Flip Snack myself. So I'm a more proponent of the hard copy for myself. I am actually making a loss on the digital copy, so I need to rethink that. But yeah, that's, if you're wondering, like, why does Magpie cost more and they're not able to do subscriptions? Because a third of the magazine isn't advertising; it's all content, and we're paying to print it. So it's a very different endeavor. But so far, so good. And thank you for that. It's been really fun. Write me anytime when you have ideas for articles, right? Even future articles or themes, anything you want. Let me know. I'd love to hear your ideas. Let's come back to Priscilla. She is a happy hooker indeed. And one of the things I love about this book, looking ghostly on the green screen, is the fact that it's called The Craft of Priscilla Buzzell. You know, for some reason, and this is opinion. This is the opinion section. For some reason, I'm going to say we, right? I don't mean us. People started thinking that there was this great big difference between arts and crafts, and that one was better than the other, and it still is very important to some hookers. I have people in my brain whose names I'm not going to say, that they are regarded as like super artsy gallery type hookers or punchers, as opposed to just hookers or punchers. Do you know what I mean? So for some reason that there was a shift there, and I always struggle with language when it comes to, is this an art or is this a craft? You know, you choose for yourself. It's not that it's, for me, saying like this is an art is not entirely correct. Just the nature of the thing, the involvement of a tool as the main implement, and certainly a paintbrush is historically considered a fine art tool or implement, whereas a hook, right, is more in the category of things you do crafts with. In my mind, this will always be a craft. In your mind, if it's an art, that's great, right? There is a category of hookers who only want to appear in galleries and only want their work in certain kinds of books, right? Because they're gallery hookers, and I get that. That's your business. That's the angle. That makes sense. I love seeing textile art, including and especially rug hooking and gallery stuff. I'm definitely more for myself of the camp where I'm more outreach and teaching and history, right? So I'm super not interested in having a gallery show. But I appreciate the need for both ends of the spectrum to be present and visible in our craft, right? So the reason I like the fact that this book is called The Craft of Priscilla Buzzell is that somehow there seems to be this weird current undercurrent, where people are made to think it's important that their their rug projects are artistic, right, and recognizable as art, because somehow that's higher than crafts. I don't think so. I am an all craft person, in my opinion. Man, people who can do stuff on a potter's wheel, making stuff with their hands, weaving stuff with shuttles, to me, that is magic. Also painting, obviously also painting, but in my mind, it's very apples and oranges. And I love the idea. It's very empowering to see somebody just saying the craft of, right? Because for those of us who don't consider ourselves gallery people, or we're going for the art angle, it's great to know people like Priscilla, who historically have done dozens and dozens of rugs, right, in her lifetime, and they are super high art. She still considers what she does with her hands to be a craft, right? So it's like permission to say, I love the craft of rug making, and to not be embarrassed that you do crafts, right? Because the language is off there. It's something else that we need to fix among ourselves, so that everybody feels included and everybody feels like what they're doing, they have the words to represent what they're doing in a way that they're proud of, right? We should be proud of crafts too, not just art. So we started looking at this book. God, it must have been a month ago at this point. And I have. It's driving me crazy that it's crooked. Sorry about that. I have one of our rugs behind us. This is the last rug that we looked at. Remember this book that was put out by Blurb Press. Blurb, Blurb. Right? I've shown this before when we look at Blurb books. There's quite a few rug hooking books. Just type in rug hooking or just rugs. It ain't gonna play, but it's Blurb. This was one of the ones I got that was not super expensive, that was super visually stimulating and inspiring. Beautiful book. And remember, it's broken. It's all color, all crazy color, so much on every page. It's broken into chapters of who the rugs were given to. Jerry and Linda's chapter, right? So it does not go chronologically. It's not a seasonal flow. It goes according to who Priscilla gave the rugs to, who in the family got the rugs. So chapter by chapter of the rugs that are at each family member's house, which I think is so sweet. It's such a creative way to break down your book, right? And as we talk about, and I talked about it this morning already with Barbara, talking about putting together a book writing group, right? Have not forgotten. It's just I'm culling it in my mind. I'm shaping it. I think the main thing to talk about for those of us who feel like you have a book in you, right? Whether it's a big project or a small project, whether it's a thin book or a thick book, whether it's mostly pictures of hands doing stuff. I figured out how to do this. Watch the pictures of my hands doing it. Isn't that fantastic? I figured that out, right? There's a huge market for that book. There's also a huge market for books like this. No technical info. Here's my rugs. I love doing all of them, right? This is what they look like. Um, there's very few original patterns in this book too, right? She loved working on commercial patterns, and here they are collected for us to enjoy. So there is all manner of thing, but I think one of the things I want to talk about in our book group, and we will be forming it in the very near future. So think about whether you have a book in you. There's no commitment. I'm not going to put any kind of charge on getting together for regular Zoom things where we talk about our projects in confidence and get advice and help from each other. I think the main thing that we can do to help each other with book projects to see more rug hooking books and more rug making books for sale, right? Just not like one every other month, but like see them hit in the market, right? See this craft growing. The best thing that we can do for each other is say, I like that theme for your book. What about doing this from chapter to chapter? Like, what about this idea so that everything is cohesive and um, interesting, and there's a good mix of technical and inspiring stuff and your voice, right? Your personal voice. That's the best thing that we can do for each other. When Priscilla put this book together, I think it might have been her husband that put the book together, and maybe the family. It was a great brainstorm to break it down according to what family members it went to, because then we get a feel for her family. This is a very personal book, isn't it? Let me just catch up a minute. Cheryl, great to see you. Judy, send me some pictures. That sounds great. Ribbon Candy, I know you know Judy, but for everybody, ribboncandyhooking@gmail.com. Send me some stuff for Magpie, or let me know if you're interested in being sent a pattern for the Halloween book. There is no charge for that, by the way. People are saying, how much is it to do a pattern for the Halloween book? It doesn't cost anything, but I'm trusting that you'll have it done sometime in September, so I have time to get it into the book. I'm just sending patterns to people who want to have their work published in that book and who love celebrating Halloween and autumn. So you can write to me about that too. Deborah says, Deanna, I love having you on in the background while I'm doing my day. I like that, doing my day. Thank you so much for your time. I've started doing needle punch. My main thing is quilting. Fantastic. Those two things are great things to do in tandem, right? Like you swapping one off for the other. I love doing both of those things as well. I'm so glad you're there. Judy says, I think you gather the tools and techniques to learn the craft on a practical level. And if the spirit takes you, you eventually elevate it to an art. Yeah, that's true. This is an abstract conversation. I love these kinds of conversations. I think you're right. In your mind, it's like the question of art versus craft, right? This is the same question and problem that Norman Rockwell had in the middle of the 20th century, right? When he was getting started, well, a little bit earlier, when he was getting started, and he was wanting to put out work and subject material that were more his own. He really got pigeonholed as an illustrator, right? And when World War II broke out, and he was too old to physically fight, um, he wanted to do military art, and they told him, maybe it was World War One actually, it might have been World War One, right? Because he would eclipse both wars, right? At his timeline. Yeah, it was probably World War One. Anyway, he sort of not applied to, but he made a proposal as a famous person to the War Office during the war to say, I have this vision for doing this series of pictures that you could use as propaganda. And he was turned down because he was told, no, we're looking for an artist, not an illustrator. Like that's a true story. And that really, he struggled with depression, so that really set him off for a while. I'm sure the whole climate of life at that time was enough to set anyone off, but it really set him off. And he always had that argument and that sort of negative feeling in his head for the rest of his life about how could people look at his work and say it has less value because you're an illustrator. And his argument was always, I'm only an illustrator because I sell my work to magazines as illustrations, right? It's just language. It doesn't mean that the paintings are any less than someone else's paintings who don't get paid by magazines and publishers, right? Who only sell things on walls of galleries as fine art to hang in people's houses. his work was no, obviously we know his work was no less than anyone else's. It was a question of language between illustrator and artist. For us, it's a question of language between crafter and artist, right? And there are connotations and associations with both of those words. And yeah, you figure out what you are, and then you decide what word is best for you. Because luckily, we live in a time and place where we can all say, "This is what I am. This is what you should call me." Right? I know we're all getting used to this world, but that's the plus side is you get to decide who you are, what you are, where your art or craft is at, what you want to call it, and what fits your trajectory better, right? Nobody has anything to say about that. It's only you. Let's come back over here, and there we are. Oops, wait a minute, wrong one. Sorry, wrong one. That was that. Yeah, okay, there we go. So this is where we left off when we first looked at Priscilla. And this is what I refer to as the Buzzell border, right? Her border was always, it was a scene in the middle. This is an original pattern. It was a scene in the middle with a big chunky border that had all kinds of bling in it. In this case, family. We looked at this one as the last image for the last episode on Priscilla, but all kinds of things that were important to the family that was getting this. Family members, hobbies within the family, holidays represented at the bottom. Just a big, chunky, full border full of what's important to the Bazzells or to whoever, whichever family branch ends up with the rug. And I just love this idea for a border because we're often thinking about rug hooking in terms of, should I put lamb's tongues in the border? Should it be like a tree of life in the border? Where should I go with the border? Well, you could do a crazy big border like this and just drop in a bunch of pictures that are important to your mythology, to your family story, right? That are storytelling elements that are unique to you and yours, right? This is a great way to fill a border. This is the Buzzell border. This, no, actually, I think this is the piece we left off on. We were talking, I'm trying to find it in the dang book and I can't find it. We were talking about the idea of a sampler. I don't know if this is a commercial pattern. I have a feeling it is, but here it is. I think it's a really fun thing to turn the idea of doing a sampler with letters and numbers completely upside down and on its head and do something like this where everything is right side up, wrong side down, diagonal, crooked, different size, scale of font, right? It's a fun and funny way to do a hit or miss piece of a sampler where everything is topsy-turvy. It's just a super, super fun piece. So I think we saw that one last time. This should be new territory for us. And again, with this book, I flipped through it a couple times. This is in the Tom and Linda chapter. That doesn't tell, this is a family compilation, right? And it's like we are kind of outsiders looking at a scrapbook, a family scrapbook. So we know that this went to Tom and Linda, right? That's all we know, just the Tom and Linda chapter. This is one of the rugs that they have that was given them. But we don't know any more about it. There are no attributions as far as patterns, or I think these rugs were always in the family and nobody knows who the pattern was, what the pattern was. If I were to make one guess, and I certainly don't know, but I would say this is a Ritamer pattern. This looks like a Ritamer pattern to me. It looks a bit like a stained glass window. If you've ever looked at Chagall's, the painter Marc Chagall's stained glass windows, the churches around the world, right? This does look like a Chagall kind of a window, but I think it is more like a Ritamer pattern. Not sure, but it certainly has that stained glass quality. This style of rug was exceptionally popular in the 60s and 70s, with a real crossover between sacred and secular art. Also in textiles, right? So the idea that you could do something that looked like a stained glass window that was not overtly religious was really interesting to people because it was a way of, and it continues to be a way of celebrating art, religious art, iconic art, sacred art, in a way that whether you feel religious or not, you can still appreciate art for art's sake. It has merit in terms of being proper high art, right? Design-wise, these kinds of compositions are absolutely beautiful. This crossover really comes at the end of like the pop art movement and is a great moment in time. You can see just from this one little photograph the kinds of rugs that are around it, right? Lots of variety. For each member of the family, they are getting very, very different. This is a whole page, right, that I'm showing you here. This is still Tom and Linda's rug collection. Is it, wait a minute, Norwich University. She's got more than one Norwich University. Gosh, I'm not sure. I'm not seeing where this chapter came from. Doesn't really matter, does it? Because we don't know any of the family members. But I'm sure whoever's got this is appreciating it. This is a whole page to look at and just showing you the kind of variety and diversity of subject, of theme that Priscilla had going. The one on the top left is the front cover design. And man, she was a master at effects like rope, right? That white rope border. Who does a white rope border? How smart is that? Because most rope is white. We tend to see like gold rope borders, right? This is really smart. It really looks like nautical rope. And this great hit or miss marble cake, but not in browns on browns. It's blues on kind of ivories, isn't it? Really different, really pretty. Man, how those blues, kind of denim blues, pop against that orangey rust. Isn't that clever? The way that the flowers are very heavy on the white side, like the ivory colored border. There's a lot of light undercurrents, light color, light value undercurrents in this rug. I think it's an exceptionally pretty rug. I'm not surprised it's on the border. On the bottom left, like a chair pad in the Delft style, or willow pattern, not so much Delft, sorry, more of a willow pattern style, right? More of an Asian look to it, very popular in the mid-century. Norwich University, that's got to be a family thing. And then down on the bottom right, another McGowan era rug. Again, unusual color palette, lots of light flowers. We tend to see light grounds with these rugs with colorful flowers. She went for the photo negative. She's doing a darker, really exciting, slightly splotchy hit or miss, darker ground with lighter flowers and lighter leaves. Little bit of a fresh pop of the yellow in there too, almost an apricot yellow. Gosh, that is so pretty because it doesn't read as an autumn rug, does it? It reads as a rug that could be down or displayed anytime, even though the flowers are very light and white and the ground is a strong autumn color. When you put them together, we have a bit of confusion of seasons, and it turns out to be a rug that you could use year-round, I think. It's an exceptionally pretty rug. Now, this one is for Tim and Linda for sure. It says it right on top. Married 1981. Okay, so maybe 1/4/1980. Oh, what is wrong with me? February 14th, 1981. I see. And this is probably their house, right? And what do we have around the edge? A beautiful Buzzell border showing flowers of children. Maybe these are flowers for birth months. It says, Our Home, Plainfield, New Hampshire, circa 1780. God, is that pretty? A little bit of greenery in the yard. Look at the way she's handled the roof, the directional hooking on the clapboard house, right? The paneling of the house, right? She's got a vertical roofing line happening, almost looks like a metal roof. And on the house, you can clearly see the horizontals. Does look like an old house with the beautiful old windows. Look at the way she's just done a touch of gray. It gives it almost like an Andrew Wyeth, intense, high contrast shadow, tiny, fine shadows that are really popping the look of the house. And then she's got gorgeous old house, isn't it? Splotchy trees, right? Lots of play in those splotchy trees, not handled with realism at all, handled with pointillism. Exciting, exciting mashup. And then the ground, lots of this fresh green spearmint colored directional hooking. It's funny how she's got a similar value in the grassy ground as the door. The door must be this great bright green, very similar green in the grass. She could have gone to one of her lighter colors. We know she's excellent at light palettes, but she went bright, and I think that's really exciting. So it's just a beautiful piece, very heathery. It looks like reclaimed, recycled material in the border, both the outer border and the inner border. It does look like patterned wool, whether it came from clothing or blankets or milled bolts, who knows, but really, really pretty. very fine, dainty, filigree flowers too. This one is exceptionally pretty. I think it's got such a great balance of styles. It's a very cohesive design. We are looking at a portrait of a house, and it's a family house at that. Something super special, some piece of family history that has been well shored up by this rug, right? Lots more layers of meaning, I'm sure, to the family members. This is a close-up of the one we were talking about earlier. Sorry, I didn't know I had this one in there. But this is the piece that is featured on the cover and does have that kind of denim blue marble cake going on with that light white border. Absolutely, absolutely stunning. Another beauty, I'm guessing this is a commercial pattern. I don't know anything about it. It looks like she did this in 1992. Um, this reminds me of San Francisco, right? The painted ladies up on the hill. Could be that. Could be Main Street, USA, anywhere. Some pretty old Victorian houses, right? Kind of side by side in a neighborhood setting, not remote farmhouses, not gothic, right? Very friendly neighborhood farmhouses. Simple composition. We're looking at a composition of multiples. Multiples are always strong. We've got a few trees that are playing a distant supporting role, but the story really is the houses, not one in particular, but your attention is split between all three. I'm loving how she breaks up the color of the houses and how she's using both patterned and solid materials to do this. Really, really smart. The splotchy quality, right, the kind of golden straw, hay colored, burnt out grass gives it a real summer feeling, doesn't it? And the little flower lined walkways heading up to the door, so welcoming, so cheerful, so much pride in a little perfectly manicured little flower lined entrance to the house. Talk about a welcome, right? Come on in. And the very vanilla kind of sky that does have a yellow tint to it goes really well with the summery feel in the grass and in the trees. You get a real sense of season in this one. It feels like it's hot out with this one. It's kind of funny because we sometimes associate historic houses like Victorian houses as being in the cool and distant past, right? Being cold and distant. These look like very warm Victorian style houses. The one on the left is more of a bungalow, but still it probably is the same era of farmhouse, right? I love this so much. Me too. It's such a sweet and simple composition. It really is a lot of fun to look at. Another page, a whole page, giving us a further idea of what to expect with this book. I forget how much this cost, but this was not one of the more expensive books at all. It is well worth having because there's so much to look at. On this one page alone, we're looking at a hit or miss pattern on the top right with a lot of exciting hit or miss geometric fills. Oh, that reminds me, I have to send out the email for hit or miss. Hit or miss is coming up again on Wednesday. If you took it before or you're taking it with me on Wednesday, I'll be with you on Wednesday. I forget what time it is. I feel like it's 3 to 5, something like that. But check it out on the Ribbon Candy Hooking website. That will be the last hit or miss class for this moment. And it turned out to be such a popular class. I'm so glad. And I hope it filled a spot in everybody's sort of repertoire of hooking. And gave you another way, $35. Okay, that's more than I thought, Linda, but I have to say it's well worth it. There's hundreds of pictures in this book, and they're all so different. It is a bit of a Where's Waldo, and you will recognize, some of them, the patterns for sure. The hit or miss fill in the geometric is absolutely brilliant on the top right and the bottom left. Brilliant in both cases. These are just stunning. I'm recording a show, Jocelyn. Sorry about that. If you heard her shout out, Teddy, shut up. There's obviously some family drama. I also love the hit or miss fill on the top left, right? The tractor scene in the grass and the ducks. Those are both hit or miss fills, right? In both cases, they're more marble cake than echo. They're not echoing anything. They're doing kind of abstract runs, lines of color that are not echoing or outlining the shape of something, right? They are creating their own patterning. I am on the thing, Ted. Really beautiful examples. And in the case of in the case of the tractor, it's a real landscape, almost realistic look at a moment in time, right? And this is what we're doing this afternoon. The ducks looks much more folky and flat as a composition. I love the use of what I think are the lily pads, very, very flat God's eye view of the ducks. Really naive composition. I think it probably is a commercial pattern, but lots of balancing of patterned wools and solid wools again, and fantastic use of hit or miss. Priscilla was absolutely excellent at using hit or miss. That is SpongeBob. Joss is right here. I'm gonna overshoot this episode so we can finish our content. So if you logged on late, I'm here with you. If you logged on and you're ready to log off, sorry for running over, but I think since I'm not doing a Wednesday episode, it's worth seeing this through because it really is a lovely book. On this page, we are seeing SpongeBob. And it must be that one of the kids loves SpongeBob. Of course, that is a copyright issue if you're doing something with the pattern. Um, you know, we're going to forget about it in this case. I'm going to actually do this. We know how copyright works, right? And sometimes we see things that are right on the edge of what is possible. So there is some of that, not just SpongeBob, but there is some of that in this book, as there is some of that on our website. It's a very fine line I tread copyright-wise in being an admin on our Facebook page, Rug Cooking and Punch Needle Club, because I do see things on there that are right on the edge, and I often delete them if I think this could be inflammatory or problematic, or it could start an unwelcome conversation about copyright. We've had plenty of those. But we know that it exists, and we know that there exist people who want to make rugs and decorations for their grandkids and their kids' rooms with branded figures, right? So we'll leave it at that. Otherwise, on this page, oops, sorry, that was a Friday night thing right here. This is a Currier and Ives, and I think Pearl McGowan did this one. I'm not sure, but I think Pearl McGowan did this one. We'll do this after the show. This is the Currier and Ives. It's called Home for Thanksgiving, and I know that because I happen to know that this is the best-selling Currier and Ives image of all time, which has always struck me as funny because over the sleigh rides and those kinds of other seasonal images, this has always been the great favorite. So again, beautiful moment in time, beautiful country image, great storytelling piece. And this is done differently than any of the other ones I've seen before of Home for Thanksgiving. If I remember right, this is a tiny pattern. I feel like I have this as a McGowan pattern. I feel like it's something like 12 inches across. Like, I'm not kidding. I feel like when I looked at it, and I know the idea is you do it number 2s, number 3s, cut, very fine cut, angel hair pastel, right? But I know that when I look, I know it made me hungry too. I know when I looked at it that I thought this is going to be impossible to do, but yet people did do it. So it just goes to show this fine cut. Priscilla worked in what looked like fine cuts for the most part. Even her hit or miss seemed to be done with leftover noodles in fine cuts. This is an interesting piece. Let me see if I can find it in my book. It doesn't matter if I look at it at the same time. This is a cute one. I have a feeling that this is not a commercial pattern. I have a feeling that this was made for a child in the family, right, who liked animals, particularly woodland animals. It's a sweet composition. It looks like an original composition. To me, this looks like something that was created in the 1970s, 1980s, because it reminds me of all of the pictures that I used to look at in Cricket magazine. Remember that? Stuff like that. It reminds me of the art of that time. And we know that Priscilla did a lot of unique patterns, homemade patterns. I'm guessing that this is one of them. Not because it's not great. It's just in terms of composition, it's very different, isn't it? I love the rack on the deer. I think that is adorable. The fox, the little lumpy body, right? All of the animals that we're seeing showing up are super clever. She's used 2 trees as vehicles with steps to place all of these different animals. And it is a feast for the eyes. It's a lot to look at. We've got both the moon and the sun. Maybe it's early evening. We're seeing that low harvest moon. Doesn't have to be literal. Doesn't have to make sense, right? We've just got elements in there that fill a gap color-wise, interest-wise, space-wise. It's a beautiful autumnal, simple piece in a folky tradition for a child who I'm sure has been loving this piece hopefully for a long time, right? This is another example of what she does really, really well. I'm looking at the geometric on the right. It is a typical geometric, a breakdown, a quilter's breakdown of a triangle with the addition of a little stump at the bottom, making it into a Christmas tree, right? So you could see this as being either, for example, a gnome, right? Can you see that too? Or a Christmas tree. But this is one of those patterns that is probably a commercial pattern. Very simple lines, a limited color palette here. But I love the breakdown of colors. I love the crossover to the quilting world, and the great reminder that whether you are a quilter or a puncher or a hooker or a latcher or a cross stitcher or a wool applique aficionado, whatever you do, you are probably looking at a line drawing that can cross over to all of the crafts that I just mentioned, including painting and watercolor and pastel and all of that fun stuff. So just another great example. That's the thing about this book is she was not a person who was like, nah, I don't like that. You know, sometimes when I do fairs and I do stuff in person, you show something different to someone and they're like, nah, I don't like that, without even focusing on it. And you know that it's good to know what you like on one hand, but on another hand, you don't grow and stretch if you don't try different things and try different styles. You know, if you feel like I only have X amount of time in my life, um, I only want to do stuff I really love, then that's great. But I feel like Priscilla really benefited from working in a lot of different styles, in a lot of different styles. I know the one on the bottom left is a Rittermere because I recognize that one. It has a Grenfell feel, but it's a Rittermere pattern. And Rittermere is a now defunct Canadian brand, but you sometimes find their patterns online. And I have done quite a few shows on the Rittermere brand, family, and patterns. That's the one on the bottom left. The fact that it's done in a monochromatic color palette is interesting. It makes it look more like a faded Grenfell rug, doesn't it? Really, really beautiful with the limited color palette. I love the breakdown of the design too. It's not a Grenfell thing to have three images embedded in the same piece, but certainly that border is reminiscent of Grenfell rugs, and the three subjects are absolutely Grenfell subjects. So beautiful and interesting rug on the top left. Again, more like a McGowan era um, rug. It's more typical, right? In its fill, the light background, colorful flowers, very heavy, lush, colorful border. But Priscilla is using her trick where she is tipping the edges of the flower and the leaves in white as opposed to darker. Most people by far will take a flower and go light to dark. She seems to go dark to light. She's reversing it more in the style of, for example, a Mexican mola or textiles done by women from Guatemala. Those tend to be reversed ombre, dark to light rather than light to dark. Priscilla just liked the look of that more because we're seeing a lot of repetition in the handling of floral pieces like that. Simple chair pad on the top right, simple but very pretty geometric, kind of like a Dresden plate pattern on the bottom right. This is something you could do with dishes on burlap, just tracing them out and overlapping them. Pearl McGowan describes doing these kinds of patterns yourself on backing in her book, Dreams Beneath the Designs, I think it's called, or yeah, something like that. But it's an interesting hit or miss because it's done on a diagonal. And there's a repeat of that sunny, like 1930s yellow color with the black. That's an interesting color palette right there. Unexpectedly light, right? Aren't you expecting to see like bright red petals? She goes for lighter colors when she can, and she's got the hit or miss going on a perfect diagonal. So another interesting piece to break down color-wise, and very much, oh, here are some close-ups of those. Very much in the style that she works in. Another great piece, this is in the Courtney and Curtis chapter, Sunbonnet Sue, and this is an irregular border. So this is a cutout piece, possibly a rug or a stand-up thing, I'm not sure. Looks like it has a stick behind it, so it might be that it was to stand up somewhere. But a very cute take on Sunbonnet Sue, right? Three different girls, little bit older, more like getting to a Holly Hoppy age, right? More than a Sunbonnet Sue age. But sweet, anonymous girls, three different girls marching off to school, Madeline style, remember, in little rows, but 3 different colors, and wearing more of a Dutch clog, holding the pretty yellow flowers, a nice sunny summer sky. Very, very pretty piece. Priscilla does a lot with white outlining in gray. I noticed that with the house, right? The house that we saw with the big border. She's doing it again here with the apron. You know, it really gives your eye an effect, a depth perception leg up when you see white and it has that thin gray border on it, right? More than black, right? Going gray to black really helps your eye clock that, right, for what it is. It also kind of emphasizes the slight size difference between the 3 girls. It's not just a repeat pattern. She might have just drawn all 3 herself onto the backing. I don't think this is a commercial pattern. It probably represents 3 daughters or something like that, but very, very sweet piece. Another really exceptional piece that I'm very fond of. This isn't the kind of rug I normally linger on because I feel like there's plenty of them out there, and we've seen them plenty. I really love this one because, again, she's using that warm brown rusty color in the background, a little bit more toward chocolate than rust in this case. She has got what look almost like a pressed flower book of leaves and petals, right? Mostly leaves in this case. I'm not really seeing flowers, but almost like pressed flowers in the autumn. Weirdly, it doesn't reek of autumn, right? It seems to be an autumn composition. We're seeing ferns, we're seeing leaves that are, on color changing trees. Um, and it's just a beautiful collection to look at, but they are not done in very literal autumn colors, right? So that makes it interesting in and of itself. What makes it further interesting for me, and I've got this sideways so we can see it a little bit bigger, what makes it further interesting to me is the idea that she's got this black border with this light outlining in white, right? That's very unexpected. It gives it a sketchbook quality, right? So for me, the center of the composition, I fully expect this to be a commercial pattern, but the center of the composition reminds me of being a kid and pressing leaves and flowers in the pages of books, right? So that's so personal and evocative. It reminds me of that moment in time and opening up a book and finding a leaf or something in there from the year before, right? That is something many of us can relate to, and it does have fond, warm memories. So the center for me is like pressed flowers. The border is like a little bit of a sketchbook quality. So this is a commercial pattern, I'm thinking for sure. Hey, Lisa. But it does have a very personal feel to it. It's unexpected. The way that she filled in both the main center part, and that little border. It's a funny little border. Judy loves that border. I know. It's something different, and you wouldn't think if you had like a linked flower or leaf border like this, it would never occur to me to do a super graphic black and white with a negative reverse, with the white being the outlined part. But it's incredibly effective, and it's very, very different. That is the thing about seeing a book like this where there are so many pieces to look at. It's an idea book, essentially. Now, this is I think this is this is a Joan Moshimer pattern. I know because I've had a couple of these patterns, and I sold them with the vintage patterns. It's the 3 owls. I feel like it might be called Wink and Blink and Nod, but I'm not sure. But I am pretty sure that it's a Joan Moshimer pattern. So it looks like Priscilla did this in 1988. It has slight pulling away from those 1970s colors, right? We were still seeing in 1988. We were getting into the brighter colors, but this is an evening scene with little owls, and done it with a more naturalist palette of browns and oranges and greens. They seem to be glowing a little bit. They are super, super cute. It's an adorable pattern. But she did manage to create the feel of nighttime with this. I think that was a really successful angle to this piece. The way their little ears are in different positions too, and their eyes are slightly different. Each one has distinct character. Another cute commercial pattern. Now, it looks to me like Priscilla was doing like Pearl McGowan. I don't know if Priscilla was Pearl McGowan certified, but I know that this stitch is one, I forget what this is called, the stitch. If you know, let me know. That looks like bricks. I know this is something that is taught in this teaching certification, which makes me wonder whether she was being certified or if she just picked this up from her friends. But it definitely gives, it's wool strips that are being used here. And I think she's using wider strips for the effect, the brick effect in the ground, pond, and sky. And otherwise, she seems to be using her usual like number 3 cut, tiny dots for everything else. So this is a combination of hooking and doing this decorative stitch um, with the hooking, but also using wool strips. So while it looks like needlepoint, it isn't needlepoint, right? It's still using wool strips. Um, I feel like I ought to know what this effect is called. It does look like reverse punching or contra or counter punching, whatever you call it, when you like the reverse of the punch side better, the punch needle side. It looks like that, but this is certainly wool strips. Very, very pretty piece. And another piece with the classic Buzzell border. Hall and Priscilla, 50th anniversary, September 1993. So that means they got married in 1943. Wow, that's fun, isn't it? What a great piece. I'm going clockwise through the flowers. Um, I think that's the state of Vermont. Or is that New Hampshire? No, that's New Hampshire. Sorry. That's, I think, New Hampshire. Jenny Wren, and then a little wren bird, grandchildren's names, and then another house. She's got 3 houses in there and what looks like a covered bridge or barn building. Lots of family names embedded in this. Beautiful, brown, very warm brown border, isn't it? With grapes and flowers and all of her personal symbolism. Pumpkin, I think the dog is called Pumpkin. So cute. A beautiful view that's probably from one of their houses. View from Shattuck Hill, the Buzzell farm, bought June 1945. Okay, so there we go. So they bought this in the 2nd year of their marriage, and I guess it seems like they were still there at that point, doesn't it? What a beautiful piece. What a special family piece. And again, the bravery to do your central piece that looks almost photographic and then to add on this big border in a completely different style that includes all the bits that are important for you to communicate, the names of the beloveds and their flowers and the foods and the hobbies and the houses and the pets, right? Everything that's important for you to get in there will fit into the Buzzell border. I just love that she does this. Another, I thought this one was funny. I think it's Skeletor. Remember from I think it's Masters of the Universe. Is it not the Hulk? That's Masters of the Universe, isn't it? Skeletor. I remember this character. Great colors, but another 3-dimensional cutout that probably went up on a bookshelf for another child in the family. This is my era of cartoon watching for sure. So funny. Pretty pattern here. I don't know if this is a commercial pattern or not. I can't say that I've seen this before. It might be that I have, but this feels so different to me because for me, the cat's eyes are like Cheshire Cat, right, from Alice in Wonderland. It's so different. It might be that as a line drawing, it doesn't strike me the way that this strikes me. But man, this cat looks like there's a lot going on, right? Do 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 do, and the little mouse and the little ball. There's some sweet, simple storytelling here. It looks like an all brick pattern in the background, which is making me think it is a commercial pattern. And I don't know if the ball and the mouse and the cat are part of the pattern, but it could be that she added those elements to an all brick, very geometric pattern. She only did hit or miss in alternating squares, which gave her a design. If you had chosen different, if you were to choose different squares to light up with all that colorful hit or miss, it would be a completely different pattern, wouldn't it? So interesting to think about how much it matters what you choose for your hit or miss fills. Another absolutely beautiful piece where she is leaning into her light colors, her whimsical borders, right? This is a commercial pattern for sure, but this double border with these dainty leaves, super pretty flowers that do go dark to light, right? This is certainly her style. If she was a teacher, she must have taught this more often than not. The way that the tips of the leaves almost disappear into the light background, it's very romantic. It's very sweet, magical looking. Just a pretty basic composition that we've all seen before, but done in a way that is uniquely Priscilla. and very fetching, very different, something really special. Another page showing the image that I think we just looked at. Isn't that the same? No, actually that's a different image. Is it? Wait a minute. Now I'm confused. Hang on. Yeah. No, that. This is its own rug on its own. But then look at. Wait a minute. I screwed something up. Ooh, wait a minute. It's Skeletor. Hang on. What do I have going on here? Okay, wait a minute. Nope. Okay, hang on. We're getting there. Yeah. So that one on the top right is not the same rug. But you can see she did it in exactly the same colors. It's probably for the same family. Maybe they needed two rugs because it's quite similar color-wise. But again, these go by chapter, so one branch of the family has all of these rugs, um, including the pretty basket weave that's done completely in hit or miss. Doesn't it seem to you like she would hook X amount of pieces and then do a hit or miss pattern? Because just looking at these pages, it seems to me that on average, one out of like four patterns is a hit or miss. And I wonder if she worked in such a methodical way that she would hook a few things and then say, nope, too many noodles kicking around. I'm going to do a hit or miss pattern. It feels like that to me. That it's a really good, proportionately, it's a really good blend. Beautiful McGowan, either Jane or Pearl on the bottom right. Beautiful chair pad on the bottom left. Not sure who that is. That could even be like a charcoal. That's a hard one to name. In our last image of the book and of today is this very pretty piece for Don and Hazel that she did in 1997. It looks like they've got their kids' names on there, and it looks like we're celebrating a 40th anniversary for Don and Hazel. But just a beautiful rug that has clearly been done on the floor. Her lovely dark to light flower bouquet done in really very fantasy colors, right? Very, very pretty colors, but not super realistic. Well, actually, the purple I thought was a leaf. That's more like an orchid. So maybe the teal leaves, right? The teal as opposed to green leaves alongside the yellow green, the bronzy green leaves. Beautiful color palette and true marble cake background. Not a lot of activity and movement in the background, but just enough to make it interesting and to lift it a little bit. Simple text on this one, more straightforward, right? I think she designed according to the people she was planning to give her gifts to. But if you feel like, wow, we looked at a lot of rugs in this book, we really didn't, because there's like hundreds and hundreds of rugs in this book. I don't know about hundreds. It's hard to say, but even on this one page, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there's 9 just on one spread. So it's a lot. It's a lot of rugs to look at. I left a lot out. And the way that they're organized really keeps me on my toes because it's not like we're looking at a chapter of geometrics and then we're looking at a chapter of florals with scrolls and then we're looking at a chapter of landscape. It's perfect by family. So we're seeing such a huge mashup on every page, which keeps things lively. All right, I'm going to head out and get going on some orders, get some stuff sent out. I've got a few more Halloween patterns to send out, and I'm looking for matches for the others. If you want to see them, let me know. I have some there, and I would love to know in my mind that they are getting done. If you've already done one and you're thinking, oh, I'm going to finish this month, I could definitely take a second one, but I don't want to be a pig. Go ahead and be a pig. I want this book to have, I love all of the patterns that I've done for the book, and I would love to see them all realized. And in the book, I would love for this Haunted Rug book to be big and fat and great value and a lot of fun, and to have something represented, several represented for everybody's taste. So if you've done one and you're thinking, oh, I should leave some for other people, don't worry. I have plenty, right? There's plenty more where that came from. I would love to have a big fluffy book for people, and I would love for this to be the definitive book on Halloween, at least until next time. So feel free to reach me about Magpie stuff, Magpie time stuff, or Haunted Rug stuff. And otherwise, I will be live with you on Friday. Huge future thank you to Melissa for inviting me to talk on Friday night while she leads the conversation and we talk about Magpie Times. We will both be with you live this coming Friday night, and that, well, I'm never going to figure it out, am I? Okay, so if today is the 8th, so it would be the 12th, right? 8. So it would be the 12th. So Friday, July 12th, we will be together with you, Melissa Gautier, and I will be right here at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. doing an interview and talking about Magpie Times and maybe some other stuff. We'll see how it goes. I will see you on Friday, and you know where to reach me in the meantime. Have a great middle week, everybody. I